Oh,
Hello, you gorgeous monkeys out there, and a warm welcome to you at the end of 2022. This is not the 10 o'clock news from the EV Cafe. This is a look back over the last 12 months at the world of electric vehicles, brought to you this week just by little old us, the review of 22. And I'm John Curtis. Today I'm joined by our correspondents in the field, Paul, Mr. Kirby, and more likely to be in a field, Sarah. So get a cuppa and plug in for the best we can muster after eating our own body weight in chocolate. Now then, this has been a year when, according to SMMT figures, over 225,000 new EVs were registered in the UK, 8,300 new public charge points have been commissioned, and 131,000 fewer new internal combustion cars were registered in 2022 than 2021. It has been a massive year for EVs and for all of us at the EV Cafe. Paul, let's start with you, darling. Your standout highlights of 2022.
well, my first highlight is always interrupting a load of car data with some van stats. And after that absolute deluge of car facts, let's focus on the vans. 18,000 vans have been registered this calendar year so far. Probably going to hit 20,000, maybe. Oh no, hang on. No, it's going to hit
nine.
Sorry, it's about 16,000. Going to be 18,000. Get my facts
9%. 9% of the total.
Not 9%. No, it's not.
It's 9% of 225,000. It's 9% of 225,000. So cars get a reasonable mention because, do you know what? That's what people drive. Sorry, move on.
And vans need a reasonable mention because they're the ones that will change air quality in our cities. There you go. Anyway, moving on before we get into a van spat. So my first sort of top highlight for this year was renewing all our first year sponsors as the EV Cafe. I mean, that was exciting because it's great to get the support in the first instance, isn't it? But at the end of the year, everybody going, yes, we're going to carry on with you, mad bunch, to promote electrification. So that would be my first one. I can't remember whether you said all three or one at a time.
Just go for it, mate. Hit us with them all.
Really?
Yeah.
So the other thing was the ITT Hub. I love the ITT Hub, but also getting vans into all kinds of shows. So Fully Charged, Company Car in Action, even had a Vans in Action area. So we infiltrated the car world with vans, electric vans, and that was really exciting. And it was also really exciting to see the difference between like the legacy manufacturers and the new manufacturers. It was a shame to see Arrival depart, but really great to see how well Volta have handled things, and also Ford coming to the party with the Ford E-Transit finally. But it is a good van, so that was really good news. And then finally, completing my EV Cafe COP26 pledges in 2022, which was to review as many vans as I possibly could and put them on YouTube, which is go over to Electric Van Man YouTube, and you can see lots of van reviews there, but also replacing our second car with another electric car. So 2 electric cars on there. So that's me, really.
Well, thank you, Paul. Quick hello to Rosie Hamer, Dave Campbell, Chris Griffin, Gerard McNally, Sarah Sloman, of course, Simon Acton, Jamie Fretwell, Gary White, and Neil Piggott. Morning, all. Thanks for joining us. JB, my dear chap, I know you're not well. You're struggling a bit, aren't you, mate? Can you speak?
Yes, I can.
Good man. What were your highlights of 2022?
I'd like to echo some Paul's comments around renewing our sponsors, and as well as taking on additional sponsors to help us support us doing some good stuff for the EV Cafe and some bigger things for 2023. So welcoming on board the new sponsors, I'd say, is definitely a big highlight for me. John's shocked face there. I wasn't prepared to really think about my 3 highlights, if I'm honest, because I wasn't anticipating on joining this call this morning. But what I think I think definitely was a highlight was us lot as the EV Cafe, selfishly, being on other so somebody else's platform, somebody else's stage. So like Ground Transport event in London, the EV show, and just seeing us on the show and it whizzed by, just having great fun, but also getting the content and the information, the education out there. So that's definitely a highlight for me, is us as the EV Cafe being invited to be on other people's platforms and stages. And then just on top of that, I'd say just around all the events that I attended this year, it only helped get that information out there and help the transition. It's only been a good thing. And also just building on our own connections and going far and wide out there. They're kind of my highlights for the year, John.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that, and appreciate the effort you've made this morning, because I know you are really struggling. Let's put that man on mute. Now then, bit cheeky now, we're going to Sarah's bedroom.
Yeah, I'm technically still on annual leave, so I'm just protesting. I'm just happy to be here. Highlights, there's so many to pick. I think a real milestone was when our community grew to 5,000 on LinkedIn. And that really spurred us on to do things like Start This News on a Friday. And we've made sure we've done one really sort of solid quality event every single month and just sort of devoted ourselves to that. But it is, and it sounds cheesy, but it is that collaborative piece. It's the fact that every month that goes by, we stick our neck out and try to do something new with our sponsors and new with, you know, people that we're trying to get the message out to. And it's not easy. We get trolls. We get people cross with us. You should have seen Jill Noel's post yesterday about just saying how great it was to hear our kids talking, and lots of Karens from Facebook coming forward. That's why we do this, to try and dispel those myths. So for me, the proud moment was when we reached that sort of tipping point of 5,000 and only climbing higher as well. But yeah, I think next year we've just got to see this sort of, I'm quite hooked on the accessibility piece around charging, the fact that, yes, there's a revenue earner to be balanced in a car park, and there is a right way of doing things on a proportionate basis. You know, spaces bigger, spaces smaller, in the same way we always have seen. But I think next year is going to be really telling in terms of that balance between the number of car sales versus the number of chargers available more than ever before.
Is that you, darling?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just very happy to be part of this community, and thank you to everybody who supported us. Or, you know, the mugs are still going strong. We'll have to come up with some new challenges for ourselves. And I think the biggest one that stands out for me is, as Johnny said, on different people's platforms. We weren't part of the EV Rally as EV Cafe, but being on the EV Rally showed us the sort of the good fight, the fight we're trying to prove, the fact that, yes, the vehicles do work at the moment and you can survive commercially with these vehicles, but there's so much further to go. And that's why we all have sort of day jobs that devote to that as well.
Well,
and I think that's
of us all. Is that okay, John? Sorry, I know you're leading this merry shebang, but
please do.
What's been the biggest challenge this year for each of us in 2022? What's been
trying to get a sentence out without you interrupting?
Well, as you know, I saw the biggest challenge coming forward as being the software and apps and payments. It drove me so insane the last few years driving electric that you're sometimes screaming at a charge point, just give me the electricity. I just need you to work. The stupid payment terminal doesn't work. The apps don't work. Nothing works. And it just made me so angry that I just flipped careers to join Paythrough. So that was the biggest challenge. And I'm a money where your mouth is sort of person. If I see a challenge, I'm going to do everything I can, including flipping my whole life to try and divert towards solving something.
What about you, JB?
Yeah, just thinking about it, Paul. I think, as you mentioned in some of the comments, and Sarah, you touched upon it, I think another year's passed, and have we really seen an improvement in terms of accessibility and interoperability and collaboration when it comes to charging infrastructure? Are we seeing enough? Are we doing enough there? And I challenge that, to be honest. You know, we've talked about how many public charge points have been installed this year. What did you say, 8,000 at the beginning?
8,300, yeah.
How many private commercial charge points have been installed? And are we taking full advantage of them? Can we be using them a bit better? I know we put a post out on LinkedIn around the 6-hour queues for the Tesla superchargers. But it's because Tesla owners are just using the Tesla network. You know, if there was more collaboration, then potentially they could have gone somewhere else that wasn't so much heavy demand. So, you know, I just think there's definitely been a bit of a challenge this year, and I think it's going to continue to be a big challenge going into 2023.
About you, JC?
I think it's the cost, mate. I think if I'm really honest, I've got access to both an electric vehicle and a petrol vehicle. And the petrol vehicle is coming in as cheap to operate as an electric vehicle charged at home. And it's something we don't talk about. And it's a real factor in making this full switch to EV. And at the moment, I'm seeing people charging, you know, doing 300, 400 miles and adding 5-6 hours to their journey, which is already 8-9 hours, and getting into 14 hours of journey to do 400 miles. And thinking, am I brave enough to finally honour my COP26 commitment to get rid of all my diesels? That's done. They're gone. Can I move to full EV? I'm not sure yet of the business case. And when you look at the cost of public charging, I can do 600 miles on £100 worth of petrol. Now, it's 6 pence a mile. How on earth do we continue this move towards clean and efficient transport when those numbers can be thrown at you by, you know, us? I know this to be a fact. That's not hyperbole. That's not myth. That's fact. And it's tough for me to be able to say to my wife, which it's her car, get rid of that because electric is better.
Yeah, and John, you know what? I share your concern in some respects, because I think that one of the biggest challenges for the commercial world is definitely charging. And it was charging at the beginning of the year at sort of 10 or 15p a kilowatt, and now it's doubly that. And then if you walk out into the public domain, so whereas cars are getting 4 miles per kilowatt, vans are getting as low, or around, the large van is getting around 2. So, you know, 65p a kilowatt hour is 35p a mile, thereabouts, 32. You know, and there is a real concern. And, you know, the van market needs that cost parity. And it was a question I asked at the EV Summit just at the back end of this year. You know, how do we see us tackling this equality thing of charging in the public and charging at home? How do we level that? Because people shouldn't be penalized because they can't charge at home. In fact, quite the opposite. They are the people that have less money. But anyway, there we go.
Can I just pick up on John Dervan's comment? He's just said the honesty in your individual perspectives regarding EV challenges creates real value in this group. And do you know what, John? We actually sometimes differ in our opinions. And some days are quite tough between the EV Cafe because we are all strong characters with big egos, big personalities, and lots of facts and information at our fingertips. And we all take different perspectives. That's the strength of this group. Bless you for recognizing that, and massive hugs, John. Thanks.
Yeah, big shout out to Lord Devan. he used to work at LeasePlan, one of the best salespeople I've ever come across. There you go. Big shout out to John Devan.
Very good.
Can I tell you what my highlights were?
Yeah, I'd love to hear
Please,
yours.
John, please tell us about your highlights.
Because I'm sitting here like a plum with my GB EV Rally t-shirt on, because that was the best week of my professional life ever in anything I have ever done. And I genuinely mean that. 5 days, 2 electric cars, because one of them failed, 1,400 miles of green and pleasant driving. It was amazing. I made friends, saw new and old charging firsthand, FastNed, along with some of the legacy stuff which needs to be gone, and discovered 2 new highlights. GridServe. When I see a GridServe sign now, I actually feel warm and fuzzy because I know I'm going to get a charge. And Power. Big shout out to Neil at Power, because he does some amazing stuff in bringing together lots of charging networks in one place where you can just use a card and get access to charging. Other highlights for me, as has already been mentioned, the ground transport show at Wembley. Leah, you're in the audience today. Bless you for organising that and loving us so much because you're fantastic. the London EV show, which for me personally was just amazing. That was the coming together of an industry like I've not seen in any industry in my entire 40 years of working. It was brilliant. May I just say, Richie Martin, biggest highlight of the year. That man is a friend I've now got for life, and I wish I could clone him. Thank you.
Definitely a big shout out to Richie Martin. He has been a wonderful thing, and I think what a great way. Sorry,
a wonderful thing. He is a thing.
He's a force of nature. That's a thing, right? But I think we're running out of time. I know, but that's one of the things for me that stands out is just people. And the New Year's Day post is going to be focused a lot on people from a beach near our friend Lord Devan again. But so people is one fabulous thing to take away from the whole of this year. So many people to think of and name.
Quick round the table. New Year's resolution. Let's start with Sarah.
Drive less, cycle more, including motorcycle.
Good effort. JB?
Go to Paul first. Give me some more time to think about it.
My New Year's resolutions go to Paul first.
I've heard of worse ones. Yeah.
I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but maybe my New Year's resolution is to think about how I can decarbonize myself and my life a little bit more.
Good man.
Yeah.
Paul.
So my New Year's resolution every year is to never make a New Year's resolution. That's all I always say. However, last year it was kind of to celebrate people. I want to carry on doing that, celebrating other people. I love what people are doing out there, and it is fantastic.
Yeah.
And mine is to lose weight because I'm enjoying life so much that I can't afford to be a fat bastard. So I am moving my exercise bike from my garage where it's been collecting spiders' webs, and I'm bringing it into my study, and I'm going to be sitting at my desk cycling whilst working. So come on, thin JC for 2023.
And if any of our audience has any New Year's resolutions, then we'd like to hear them. And also secondly, if you are looking to start a habit or break a habit or start a New Year's resolution, then I highly recommend the latest podcast from Stephen Bartlett, The Diary of the CEO. He talks about how you can actually break a habit and create a good habit by taking in 3 factors: your cue, your routine, and a reward. And it's a really interesting listen. So I do recommend that if you are looking at it.
Has he started sponsoring the show now?
No, wow. I'm working on it, Paul. I'm working on it. I was listening to it just before the show. So
it's very good, actually. It's very good. I know that we want to talk to people this year, and on our podcast, we're going to get our act together and be doing a regular podcast throughout the year. So do look out for that. It's going to be exciting. So many people to talk to, so many real journeys to talk about. And one thing that's come out from the comments quite often is the honesty and openness, around the discussion that we're having. Chris Dimitru, one of the best presentations that I've seen this year, actually on the EV Cafe from, a holistic transport view. Chris did a fantastic job. Of showing us what's going on in the public sector. But he says that the honesty that we need to have around these challenges is really important. And I think that's the thing that comes through. Honest and open conversation.
Can I just say, hello, Richie Martin, you absolute loser. You've just arrived. And I said, whilst we were broadcasting, check the recording, available on LinkedIn. I said, one of the highlights of my year has been meeting Richie Martin from Fully Charged, a new friend, and I wish he could be cloned. I wish he could be cloned and have an alarm clock. Anyway, if you have any clean transport, PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org until next Friday. It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from them. This has been an EV Cafe production brought to you this week by the EV Cafe and all of our partners. They know that other sustainability news services are available, but this is just
Fodder!
Fodder. The EV Cafe News
Johnny Berry's
is...
fodder.
What's that? I don't know about that. Is that a word? The EV Cafe News is regulated by Big Stuart Interval, Sparky from My Energy, Tucker from the AA, installed by EV Civils and monitored by Geotab. The news is performed by professionals. Please do not try this without some New Year's resolutions and a healthy and slightly warped sense of humour. It's been a privilege to see you every week. We cannot thank you, our merry band of supporters, enough. Until next Friday, we'll be back. Love you lots. Happy New Year. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Johnny Berry's disappeared.
Johnny Berry's died.